When I moved into this so-called luxury community, I didn't realize I was signing up for boot camp with better landscaping. My place was barely unpacked when the HOA, led by a prune-faced dictator named Karen, slid a passive-aggressive pamphlet under my door titled, "How to Be a Better Neighbor." Subtle. Within the first week, I got 3 warning emails, one for parking in my own driveway crooked, one because my welcome mat said "go away," and one because my sister visited me on a Tuesday. That last one really did it. Karen caught her car on the security cam and claimed she was loitering. She was in a Honda Civic, not robbing Fort Knox. Next week, I had a couple of friends over. We watched a movie, laughed a little, nothing insane. Karen showed up on my doorstep at 9:17 p.m. holding a clipboard like it was a sword of justice. "This isn't a frat house," she sneered. "We don't tolerate disruptive social gatherings." Disruptive? We were eating microwave popcorn and quoting Marvel movies. I stared at her like she had 2 heads and both were full of nonsense. I tried to play nice. Send a polite email asking for clarification about the visitor policy. Got a reply in 18-point bold red font that basically said, "Don't have guests, ever." Apparently, the HOA had enacted a temporary quiet policy that forbade visitors during non-holiday weekdays, a rule that magically appeared after I moved in. Classic HOA move. Make the rules up as they go. And by they, I mean Karen and her little gang of retired spies with nothing better to do. The next weekend, my buddy Ray stopped by. We grilled burgers in the backyard, just 2 guys with tongues and aprons, doing absolutely nothing illegal or exciting. Karen sent a citation to my email at 8:03 p.m. with an attached photo of Ray holding a spatula. Unauthorized assembly, it said. Assembly? It was 2 people. If that's an assembly, then eating at Olive Garden must be a riot. I asked around. Turns out none of the other residents had ever been cited for having guests, just me. One neighbor said Karen didn't like new blood. Another said she just hated fun. And a third whispered, she's mad no one comes to her book club. So I decided to test it. I asked my neighbor Dave to host a poker night. 6 cars in his driveway, music playing, laughter loud enough to echo. Nothing happened. No clipboard, Karen, no email, no citation. But when I had one friend over again, boom, violation notice within the hour. That's when I knew it wasn't the guests she hated, it was me. Karen had declared war, and I was done playing defense. The next day I put a folding chair on my front lawn, brewed a gallon of sweet tea, and sat there like a southern grandma watching drama unfold. Every time a car drove by slowly, I waved like I was Miss America on a revenge tour. Karen stood across the street in her gardening gloves, glaring at me like she was about to call Homeland Security on my lemonade stand. I didn't even need to break any rules to drive her nuts. I just existed. That's all it took. My mere presence in the neighborhood was her personal apocalypse. But she wasn't done yet. 2 days later, I came home to a bright orange sign taped to my front door that read, "You are in violation of HOA Policy 3.7, excessive foot traffic." I nearly pulled a muscle laughing. What even is excessive foot traffic? Are my friends supposed to enter on rollerblades now? I emailed her asking how many feet per square yard per minute was allowed. She replied with a spreadsheet and a smug "please comply." That's when I got petty. I started inviting people over in pairs. A couple here, a coworker there. They didn't even come inside. We stood on the lawn and discussed weather patterns. We played chess on a patio table. Once, we just stood there eating popsicles in silence like we were in a horror movie. Karen took pictures from her window every single time. I waved in all of them. She printed them out and brought them to the next HOA meeting like she was testifying in court. Then she tried to fine me. Yeah. She claimed I owed $150 for repeat violations and mailed me a bill. I mailed it back with a note that said, "Return to sender, unpaid, unwanted, and unread." Then I printed out my own fine for her, $500 for being a community buzzkill. Slapped it on her mailbox. She almost tripped running outside to yell. But I wasn't just doing this for laughs anymore. I was pissed. I paid the same dues as everyone else. I followed the actual written rules. I didn't throw wild parties or leave trash out. I was clean, respectful, and boring as hell. And still, Karen had turned me into her personal project. Her vendetta wasn't about peace and quiet. It was about control. And I wasn't about to roll over. So I started documenting everything. Every bogus citation, every email, every weird photo she took. I recorded her yelling at me from the sidewalk and her little HOA pals snooping around my driveway. I was building a case, not just for revenge, but for something way better. That's when I found out something that made my eyebrows hit the ceiling. The house I was renting, it wasn't listed through a property management company. It was privately owned. And guess what? The owner was planning to sell. The moment I read the email from the owner saying, "We're considering selling the house. Would you be interested in buying?" I swear I heard violins playing in the distance. Not romantic violins, petty violins, vengeful violins. The kind of soundtrack you hear when karma stretches its fingers and goes, "All right, let's get to work." I responded with one word, absolutely. Now, I'm not a millionaire. I don't swim in gold coins like Scrooge McDuck, but I had decent credit, zero debt, and a savings account I'd been nurturing like a houseplant. I ran the numbers with my bank, got pre-approved, and scheduled a call with the owner. He was a chill guy, lived out of state, just wanted the property off his hands. I didn't tell him about Karen or the HOA war. Didn't need to. My silence wasn't noble. It was strategic. Why warn the villain before the twist ending? Meanwhile, Karen doubled down. She mailed me a list of acceptable activities I could do in my own home. It included things like reading quietly, knitting, and light stretching. You'd think she was running a retirement monastery, not a residential neighborhood. One of the bullet points literally said, "Preferably no laughing after dark." I framed that one and hung it over my toilet. Then came the anonymous complaints. Suddenly, other HOA board members were concerned about the volume of guests I had, despite security cam footage showing me talking to squirrels and waving at Amazon drivers. It was obvious Karen was trying to make it a group effort now, turning her minions against me. I started naming them in my phone as Minion 1, Minion 2, and definitely Karen in disguise. But while she was busy playing petty dictator, I was signing paperwork. The inspections went through, the financing was approved, and within 3 weeks I was staring at a deed with my name on it. I bought the house. The closing date was set. Karen didn't know, and I wasn't going to tell her. Not yet. See, this house came with more than walls and windows. It came with voting rights. That's right, homeowners got a vote in HOA elections. Renters didn't. But now, I was about to be her worst nightmare. A legal, documented, unsilenceable member of the very HOA she ruled over, like a budget Voldemort. The day before closing, Karen slipped a final warning under my door, something about pending HOA disciplinary action. I didn't even read it. I folded it into an origami bird and left it on her windshield. Closing day was beautiful. I dressed up for it. Full suit, sunglasses, walked into that office like I was buying a yacht. Signed every document like I was autographing a fan's notebook. Got the keys, got the deed, and walked out with the most dangerous weapon in Karen's world. Ownership. Now it was time to make a little noise. The first thing I did after closing was frame the deed and hang it on the wall where Karen could see it through the window. Just a little decorative warning shot. Then I made a quick call to the HOA office and asked for the necessary documents to update my ownership status. The woman on the phone, sweet as honey, said, "Oh wow, Karen's not going to like this." I said, "I'm counting on it." I didn't even bother being subtle. That weekend, I invited 12 friends over. We parked legally, no loud music, just a chill get-together in the backyard with grilled food and actual laughter after dark. I kept checking my phone, waiting for the familiar ping of a citation email. Nothing. No knock on the door. No angry clipboard. No scowling face in the hedges. Karen was suspiciously quiet, which meant only one thing. She was plotting. Sure enough, on Monday, she struck. I got an official letter hand-delivered, because she's dramatic, that read, "Final warning, you are in breach of HOA guidelines and will be summoned to a disciplinary hearing. Failure to comply may result in fines or eviction." Eviction? I laughed so hard I dropped the letter in my cereal. I picked up my phone, snapped a photo of the deed hanging on the wall, and printed a copy. Then I marched straight to the HOA office, walked past her secretary, and opened the door to the conference room where Karen sat with 2 other board members, sipping tea like the queen of petty. "Hi, Karen," I said, dropping the copy of my deed on the table. "Thought you'd want to see this before you try evicting a homeowner." Her jaw actually clicked. clicked like it got stuck on its way to the floor. She blinked at the paper, then back at me as if I just confessed to being Batman. One of the board members leaned in, squinting. Wait, he owns the house now? That's right, I said cheerfully. Closed last week. I also mailed in the form for voting rights. Should be processed by Thursday. Karen's lips tightened into a line so thin it looked like a paper cut. This doesn't change the rules, she hissed. Oh, it changes everything, I replied, because now I get to help rewrite them. She tried to recover ring, switching tones like a malfunctioning robot. We encourage community involvement. I'm sure we can work together too. Save it, I said. You've spent the last month trying to chase me out with fake policies and fabricated violations. Guess what? I'm not going anywhere. I walked out without waiting for a response because what more was there to say? I just checkmated her entire HOA chessboard. She couldn't find me. She couldn't evict me. She couldn't even outvote me if I rallied a few neighbors, which I already planned on doing. The very next day, I sent out flyers for my first official event, Homeowners Celebration Bash, this Saturday. Food, music, lawn games, a bounce house, the whole 9 yards. Every neighbor was invited, except Karen. Saturday came like a blessing. The sky was clear, the grill was hot, and my front yard looked like a neighborhood fair. Kids were in the bounce house. Music floated through the air, not obnoxiously loud, just enough to say, "This isn't your kingdom anymore, Karen." People brought potato salad, folding chairs, and the kind of smiles you only wear when you know you're part of something petty and beautiful. I wore a shirt that said, "This homeowner accepts visitors." Karen didn't show up at first, which was disappointing. I wanted her to see it, to choke on the smell of barbecue and joy. But then around 2:30 p.m., a beige SUV crept down the street slower than a hearse. It stopped across from my house, and there she was, perched in the driver's seat, wearing sunglasses like she was hiding from paparazzi. She didn't get out. She just stared. I waved. Everyone waved. Somebody handed me a megaphone and I yelled, "Hey, Karen, want a hot dog?" She peeled off so fast her tires squealed. That was the moment I knew she had officially lost her mind. But she wasn't done yet. Monday morning, the HOA inbox received a formal complaint from her, full of lies about noise violations, public intoxication, we had lemonade, and unregistered lawn furniture. She tried to find me again. This time I didn't even bother replying. I just forwarded the email to the HOA board with the subject line, "Desperate much?" What she didn't realize was that during the party, I collected signatures from neighbors, actual homeowners who were sick of her reign of terror. I got just enough to call a vote to restructure the board. At the next HOA meeting, Karen showed up with her usual smugness, probably thinking she'd scare everyone back into silence. Then I pulled out the stack of petitions and placed them neatly in front of her. She didn't even pretend to read them. "This is absurd," she snapped. "I have run this neighborhood with dignity and order for 8 years. And a complete lack of human joy," someone muttered. The board held the vote. It wasn't even close. Karen was officially removed as president. Not impeached, not suspended. Fired. Her face turned the color of old ketchup as she realized the room wasn't hers anymore. After the meeting, I stood outside talking with Dave from down the street. We watched as Karen got in her beige SUV and drove away, fast. No waving, no clipboard. Just a silent retreat. That weekend, I hosted another party. Not out of spite this time, but out of celebration. Kids played, neighbors mingled, and nobody got a citation for smiling too loud. Karen put her house up for sale a week later. Her listing sat for 2 months. Mine, still the life of the block. And every weekend since, like clockwork, I've thrown a party. Not wild, not crazy, just warm, open, and happy. Because if there's one thing I've learned from this whole mess, some people buy houses to live in peace. Others buy them to throw parties and end tyrannies. I just happen to do both.